focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. ICICI ETF and CNBC-TV18 present Smartly Passive, unlocking the world of ETFs.
Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18 and ICICI ETF presents Smartly Passive, unlocking the world of ETFs. And this is the first episode where we'll attempt to understand the current financial landscape, decode the concept of ETFs, understand why they are a popular choice, and decode what makes ETFs a good diversification strategy. The highlight will be the trade secret or a success mantra for prudent investing and attaining financial independence as well. To further discuss this, we have with us today Mr. Chintan Haria, the Principal Investment Strategy at ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company Limited. Chintan, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and it's always a pleasure speaking with you and understanding the different asset classes and where one can invest as well. And today, of course, we'll focus on ETFs. But before we get into that, let's just begin by understanding what the investment landscape is looking like right now. We have seen so much happening, be it geopolitical issues, be it macro changes. What's your take?
Thank you, Sonal. And every time I'm here, the education which people get makes them even more hungry for knowledge. So thank you for this. As far as the world and the landscape is concerned, one thing which is not changing is the savings which people have and the desire for investing those savings in a manner which will generate wealth for them. And we are seeing to that extent not just generation of wealth, but the ability to pass on that wealth in a seamless, easy manner, and which is what financial investments allow. It's much easier, right? And so we are seeing a shift towards financial assets from the real assets like gold and real estate. And within the financial assets, of course, equities being the key, where we are seeing the growth in India and everyone wants to eat a share of the pie.
They want to, and there's been more knowledge, more interest that we've seen, the equity cult that we've been talking about in the last couple of years, right? So you pointed out there's been a surge in equity investing. What are some of the options? Because it's not always direct stocks. We can invest in different asset classes which have the equity backing. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so traditionally, and India has had a more than 100-year history of having equity markets and people investing in direct equities. And over the last 15 years, investing through mutual funds has gained ground. We have more than 4.5 crore investors almost. And that basically is predominantly still in active mutual funds, which is essentially where the fund manager is taking the call based on the objectives of the scheme, where the sectors, which are the stocks, where the funds should go. That's active mutual funds. And we are seeing more and more money now also looking at passive options in investing, which is essentially index funds and ETFs. So the point being that, yes, equity investing through direct stocks was always the case in India over the last 100 years, and it is continuing, and we have more than 13 crore demat accounts now. Good, the equity culture is good because capital formation of the country, and active mutual funds are growing, and then passive mutual funds, which is ETFs and index funds, are also the new kid on the block, so to say, over the last 5 years, which are gaining ground.
And yes, you spoke about new demat accounts, SIPs touching record highs every month. And as you said, the growth and acceptance of passive investing, that has also increased. It's more globally, but now we're seeing that maturing in India as well. What are your thoughts? Is this something that could continue as a trend? Because the active versus passive debate continues.
Yeah, so the classic question is, should one go active, should one go passive? As a person who's managed active funds and who's probably helped launch a lot of passive funds as well, I believe you should have both. Active and passive, because now we have options within active and options within passive as well. The passive investment landscape earlier had probably restriction in terms of only a couple of funds, maybe large cap oriented passive funds, etc. But now the landscape is so wide, and more importantly, people have understood the benefits of passive funds within their understanding of investing in equities itself. So we have a situation wherein large family offices, HNIs, they are looking at low cost products to invest and get the necessary diversification. They've realized that they can get it in ETFs itself or index funds, and that's where they're looking to add more as well. So the good old active mutual fund will remain for a long period of time, but in India, much like the West, we are seeing even passives grow meaningfully.
Oh yes, the conversations have increased, and the interest, as you said, in index funds or ETFs as well. So let's boil it down to one of those categories, and that's ETFs or exchange traded funds. They're quite popular across the globe, that is for sure. In India as well, we are seeing more interest coming by, people asking questions and trying to understand that. So let us decode the concept of ETFs as well. What does it exactly mean? And what are your thoughts on why ETF has so much popularity globally? Now in India as well, we are having those conversations.
True. So if I look at the global concept of ETF and globally why it started growing was the fact that pension funds moved away from hedge funds after 2008 financial crisis and started investing a lot in ETFs. So despite the fact that ETFs globally were there since 1970s, they picked up pace after 2010. As far as India is concerned, we've seen that happen after 2015 in a meaningful way on accounts of two reasons. One is you have more number of products being launched after 2015 with AMCs focusing on passive as well because they saw the demand, right? Demand creates its own supply, and so we saw demand coming in and we launched a lot of the products which we'll obviously speak a little later. And the fact that much like the West, people are also getting more educated on the fact that a low cost product for long term wealth creation, easy to invest in ETFs is available. And so we are seeing ETFs grow meaningfully, and not just in equities, right? Equities, commodities, ETFs provide in debt. They're providing a landscape for investments, and hence the growth is happening. Globally, the taxation difference in US, there is a tax advantage which ETFs have. That's why they've grown meaningfully. In India, because of the diverse nature of investors, wherein people want to invest in low cost products also, those who don't understand are still probably going into active mutual funds, and those who need advice are going into actual mutual fund. But those who probably understand markets and are probably a little bit more savvy, they are going the way of ETFs, and I think best of both worlds people will have in their portfolios.
It's asset allocation which matters
Yes,
at the end,
absolutely.
right? So you said what would the benefits of ETFs be? Let's talk more about it. There's flexibility, there's diversification, transparency as well. How are these three things tying up? What are some of the advantages that investors should be aware of when they're investing in ETFs?
So the thing is, traditionally when people were investing in equities alone, you needed a lot of capital to diversify your portfolio into say 10 or 15 stocks, because one stock could be worth 1,000 rupees, the other stock could be worth 500. And if you have to buy one share, you had to have probably a corpus of 30, 40, 50,000 rupees to buy a 15, 20 stock basket. ETFs by nature of following a index and being unitized and traded on the exchange. So that's the basic of ETF. Let me just highlight that ETFs in terms of how they are constructed is there is a index which is at the back end. That index is based on rules and methodology, and probably a set of 20 to 50 stocks. Sometimes those stocks can be 500 as well. And when the investor is investing, that ETF which is traded on the exchange can be traded for 50 rupees or 100 rupees as well. So it is kind of democratizing the whole concept of purchasing equity, because a 50 stock basket you can purchase for as low as maybe 80 to 100 rupees, whatever is the unit price of the exchange. And you don't have to worry about having so many stocks, handling so many stocks, and how much proportion, because the index is easily accessible through the ETF. And I think that is one of the biggest flexibility, as well as the diversification, which is one of the biggest advantages of ETFs. And transparency, as you mentioned, every day the portfolio is available for the investor to see. So you can actually come to know that what is the exact portfolio of the ETF. So you know where you are investing, and on a continuous basis you will know exactly what the portfolio is. And the most important aspect is you can invest easily in smaller bits, and you can do an SIP through your broker as well in ETF. So that is also easily possible. So much like how we say SIP in active funds is growing and it's more than 20,000 crores now, even in ETFs, slowly but surely you can build your corpus for long-term wealth creation.
And the best part is, as you pointed out, you don't need a lot of money to start investing
Exactly.
here. You can do it with smaller bits. So as a first-time investor who's heard you now and is ready to invest in ETFs, how do they go about it? How do they begin their ETF journey? Because it's slightly different from the normalized or the normal way of investing in funds.
Yes, so the good news is that with the advent of technology and digitization, it's very easy to open demat accounts, because when you invest in an ETF, much like how you invest in a share, you'll need a demat account, you'll need a trading account, you'll go on the exchange and buy, and which is one of the advantages of ETFs as well, that there are live prices there, transparency of pricing, you can buy and sell during live markets. So if there is any event which happens, you can take advantage of that event and buy it if the markets are giving an opportunity at the live prices. And so from a new investor perspective, of course, when you're beginning your journey, of course, your corpus will be limited, you will start slow, and you will build over a period of time. So we always prefer investors investing in large cap oriented ETFs like the Nifty ETF or the Sensex ETF to start with, or the BSE 500, NSE 500 as the case may be, so that you get the entire diversification to start with. And as and when your knowledge on investing in ETFs improves, you can go towards the sectoral, thematic, smart beta, etc. But first, baby steps towards understanding what ETF is, understanding the entire process, probably staying invested patiently, that also you'll learn, and then you'll diversify your portfolio towards the other alternatives which are available and create a portfolio for your long-term wealth creation.
You know, it's a very important advice because considering the markets that we've been, people would have directly gone for thematic, sectoral, smart beta, because the basics is something people are not ready yet. Patience, that's
Yes.
what you pointed out. Very important for a long-term investor. Very interesting chat, but we have to slip into a short break. But when we come back, stay tuned for this conversation. We'll tell you all about ETFs. It's a masterclass, so don't go anywhere.
ICICI ETF and CNBC-TV18 present Smartly Passive, Unlocking the World of ETFs. ICICI ETF and CNBC-TV18 present Smartly Passive, Unlocking the World of ETFs.
Welcome back. You're still tuned to CNBC-TV18 and ICICI ETF presents Smartly Passive, Unlocking the World of ETFs. It's a masterclass, and on the show today we have with us Chintan Haria, and he's answering everything about ETFs because this is a category which is picking up. There's been a lot of interest as well. So Chintan, so far we discussed how can one go about investing in ETFs if they are a first-time investor. What does the ETF investment really look like? But now that we've understood the basics, let's talk about the categories of ETFs which are available in the market. They are catering to different risk appetites. There would be different investment horizons because the goals differ. So what are those baskets one should be aware of?
So like I said, demand creates its own supply, and I think we put a lot of mind to it at ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund in creating the entire bouquet. So from an investor who starts the journey, I said yes, large cap, etc. But the whole bouquet, or you can create an entire portfolio through ETFs itself. And just to put the categories in perspective, within equities, market cap based are the most prominent. So you have large cap, mid cap, small cap, and now you do have micro cap funds also in the market for you to invest in on the passive side. Then you have thematics and sector based also, which is also something unique because let's say I am bullish on banking and I want to invest in banking as a whole. I have the banking ETF. Then you may say, I like private banks. I want to invest only in private banks. So you have the private bank ETF. You may say, okay, banks and private banks I do get from my active investments, either through the direct stock or through my mutual funds diversified. But I want non-banking financial companies which are not banks. We have NBFCs and other housing finance, etc. as a separate. Then you have the financial services ex-bank ETF option as well. So that's the beauty of ETFs. There is no limit to the amount of themes and sectors you can have in your portfolio, and these are just on the banking side, but you have technology, you have pharmaceuticals, infrastructure, consumption. So on the themes or the sectors also. So if you, for example, believe that India today sells 4 million cars, and much like how China is selling 2.5 crore cars, India is also going to reach that path. You want to participate in India's logistics because if manufacturing grows, logistics has to keep pace. Then you have auto ETF as well as an option because in that you'll get the car companies, the tire companies, etc. So you can pick and choose which sector or theme you like. And as an investor, if you're a keen reader of the markets and you want to participate in a sensible manner through the passive route, you have all these options available, and there are many more. I won't be able to complete all of them, but there is a lot more, and I'm sure there will be a lot more themes and sectors which will come out. So you have large cap, mid cap, small cap, micro cap, you have sectors and themes. And the most popular or the prominent ones, which I take a lot of happiness because ICICI Prudential launched the first smart beta ETF in 2016-17, which was the low vol, and it has picked up and is one of the largest in the market. Now it's created a separate category of itself. So smart beta, of course, we've done a lot of shows. I think we've spoken about smart beta earlier here as well. There you have a lot of options because think of smart beta as a, let's say, in between active and passive, where in an active fund where the fund manager thinks, okay, valuation based, I like this, I like the ROE of this, I like the price to earnings of this, and I create a portfolio out of the universe that I have. In smart beta, you choose that factor, and out of the universe, the stocks are selected that way and weighted that way. So you have low vol, alpha low vol, which was India's first multi-factor, and then you have momentum, etc. So that is also picking pace. So you have these three within equities, and then of course commodities, silver and gold you have debt. And apart from that, there is in the ETF basket available between equity, debt and commodities, you can create an entire portfolio for yourself to be part of India's wealth creation.
What would an investor ask for more, right? There's so many options available, then they have experts like you to guide them as well. Yes. You spoke about the first smart beta ETF. You spoke about how smart beta is picking up. So let's talk about ICICI ETF Journey. What do they do differently now? In terms of offering interactive solutions, you are talking about solutions and products to make an investment journey very comfortable, especially for a first-time investor. Some of the factors or strategies that you consider.
So I think the good part is we've been thought leaders across all the avenues that we provide products to investors. So the good old balance advantage fund, how can we have a conversation complete without speaking about balance advantage? And that was a unique proposition for investors way back in 2006-07 when we thought of it, and now it's a household name on the active side. Similarly, on the passive side, way back in 2003, we launched the Sensex ETF, which was the first large cap ETF, and when I joined in 2005, a few years later, I was managing it. But obviously, the AUMs that time were much smaller. Yeah. It was less than 1 crore, and now I think the Sensex ETF of ours is crossing 10,000 crores. So you can see the journey is well traversed. Apart from that, India's first smart beta ETF, like I said, the low vol, and the first multi-factor smart beta ETF, which is the alpha low vol, which is based on 2 factors, which is alpha and low vol. Happy to have launched that because it created a demand of its own. So first, in this case, the supply came, that is the smart beta ETF, and then gradually investors realized the benefit of having smart beta in their portfolio, and we are very happy that they've grown and done their justice to the investors so far. And we believe even in the future, if the investors keep building their portfolio on the smart beta side, it will continue to grow. And last but not the least, January 2022, India's first silver ETF, which of course, currently as we speak, silver is again something after 4 years of deficit in terms of supply demand, is showing its upward trajectory, and with the growth in solar, the way it is happening. And you did speak about energy. We are at 18 gigawatt going to 35 gigawatt of solar. Silver can be something which investors can look at as an investment avenue, and physical silver is difficult to keep. Yeah. So the fact that we could launch silver ETF thanks to the regulator and the regulations allows an investor an opportunity to participate in that space as well. So gold has been in India as an ETF form for last 15 years plus, but silver is only about 2 years old. So we were happy to launch India's first silver ETF as well.
And it's interesting, while we keep talking about gold in maybe physical, digital form, sovereign gold bonds, there's not much discussion about silver in general. That has quietly, seen a one-way move and levels that we've not seen before. So if you get those silver coins as gifts, keep it. It's going to be a great...
Anything silver will shine, it seems, but let's see.
Exactly. So, it's been a very interesting conversation, and I look forward to more conversations with you in this masterclass as well. But for now, we have to wrap up. But before we do that, a secret success mantra or pro tip for investors that you have that will help them in their investment journey, maybe through the journey or if they are starting it now?
Yes, so there can be many mantras, of course, but the one thing which I have learned over the last 19 years of my journey in equity markets is that one should not forget the power of compounding, which equity markets bring, and hence, even in the case of ETF, don't think of it as a mechanism where you're going to trade in and out. Think of ETFs as long-term investment vehicles where you are building your portfolio for the long run to take advantage of the wealth creation effect that compounding through equities provides. So the pro tip will be, do not keep trading in ETFs just because it is easy to trade them, but treat them as long-term investments, much like how you probably are doing with your SIPs in the mutual fund side on the active side. And in the long run, your ETF basket itself will also become much large and create wealth for you. So don't treat it as only a trading vehicle. You want to trade, but treat it as an investment vehicle, and you should be fine in the long run to create your wealth.
So do you see right now people considering it more as a trading bet rather than investment? Is this the...
I guess the ease with which you can trade in and out, yes. But yeah, the good part is the pension funds treat it as a long-term investment and continue to remain invested in it. And at least in the smart beta category, we've not seen too much churn. So I hope that that continues in the long run. But yes, there is a tendency when something is so easy to get in and out to probably trade in and out, which is what is happening probably even on the direct equity side. So people need to be wary of the fact that diversification is important. So if I could give one more tip, diversify your portfolio. Don't concentrate yourself into one go, because it's easy to get lost in the noise that is there around equities right now and probably build a portfolio of only mid and small cap. Yeah. But having diversification helps, and that's what ETFs will provide to you. Thank you.
I'm so glad we are having this conversation at a time when, as you pointed out, people are just looking at one segment or one part of the market where they think they'll get like exponential returns, and that could continue as well, because there's still a generation, those who have not seen those volatile times in markets yet. So it will be very helpful for them as well. Thank you so much, Chintan, for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to more such conversations on this masterclass. And of course, this is a series that will continue as well. Clearly, considering what Chintan told us, how you can start in the investment journey when it comes to generally equity investments, when it comes to passive investing as well, how it is picking up in India right now, and ETFs are the way to go as well when it comes to passive investing. A lot of interest, a lot of conversations, and we keep getting questions on that as well. So thank you for answering all of them. And clearly, ETFs offer liquidity, diversification, there's transparency, they're cost-effective solutions as well. You can see at the end of the day what the NAVs are like, what is your portfolio looking like. And with these insights, we hope we enabled you to make better and more informed investment decisions. So stay tuned for the next masterclass and write to us if there are many questions as well on ETFs. So we'll answer them with our experts. Thank you so much for joining in today.
ICICI ETF and CNBC-TV18 present Smartly Passive, Unlocking the World of ETFs. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.